for you guys to tap in, check in. As you say what's up, like this video, let me know where you're coming in from. It's Thursday morning, 6:30 a.m. We have a huge weekend ahead. We've already had a little bit of a nice week so far. We had the Dana White Contender Series yesterday. We hit on 2 out of 3 parlays. Before I get into all that, I want to let everybody know I appreciate all the support. The channel's growing. August was a great month. When I launched the Johnny Says Boxing Insider VIP membership mid-July, it's really grown nicely. So now going into September, our Discord has around 200. I think we're at 205 VIPs in there. So to join our boxing, our bet on boxing, bet on MMA, we've added American football. The link is pinned here in the comment section below. It's a couple bucks a month. You get access on YouTube and you'll join our Discord. And it's a great community. You guys get 24/7 access to professional gamblers. You can post your parlays, post your bets. Like I said, I have a separate channel for football, separate channel for boxing, separate channel for MMA, my channel for my picks, my locks, and my parlays. We have so much going on. So with that being said, I'm going to take 1 minute to give the rundown from yesterday's fights, the Dana White Contender Series for the UFC and MMA boys, and then we got a lot of boxing to talk about, as you know. I woke up this morning with, there's fight cards that I didn't even know were taking place. I forgot. There's so much action. So it's actually going to be one of those weekends because we have next week, obviously, with Bud and Canelo and Inoue and all the MMA fights. This weekend, it's really going to come down to you guys picking and choosing where you want to put your money. I'm going to be as transparent as I always am with you, and I'll be giving you my parlays on YouTube for the non-paid VIPs, just for the supporters here. I'm going to give you guys today my long parlay, and I'm going to give you guys my college football parlay. So I'm going to give you 2 parlays, but get to the Discord, get my locks, get all of my bets, join the community, click the link that's tagged in the comment section below. So yeah, yesterday during the Dana White Contender Series, week 2 and week 3, we went 10 out of 10. Yesterday was week 4 on the money line. It started great. I built a 5-leg parlay. It was paying 11-1, and the winning streak came to an end. I hit 4 out of 5, and it was excellent card. I lost my money line parlay, but I hit on a 2-leg method of victory, and I hit on a 1-leg lock. So those picks were put in the Discord. I know some of you boys hit. If you guys hit, and whether you took my picks or not, let me know. And if you took my picks, tip your bartender. Do whatever you can to help me out. Okay, we're going to turn the page and focus on boxing. I'm going to now cover what you guys could expect on the channel. I'm currently uploading my Sugar Nunez breakdown. So if you're unaware, make sure you hit the bell notification button. That will notify you every time I upload a Stats Don't Lie video. There's so much coming out. Today is my Thursday, so when I give you these dates, this is Australia time. So we have cards tomorrow. We have cards Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday in Australia. So for the next 4 days, there's boxing cards. Now, I woke up today. There's already a fight I like a lot. Avery Duval versus Luis Cortez is a good fight. So the fights tomorrow is Duval versus Cortez, Federo versus Crichton, Arobio, a nice little prospect, is taking on Monroy, Wyatt Sanford's fighting Semjon Kamenin, Gaumont versus Cotty is a good fight as well. And then you got, that's headline, this is the Montreal card, Osleys Iglesias versus Vladimir Shishkin. This fight happens tomorrow. So on my locks of the week, one of my locks is Iglesias on the money line. But I'm going to be giving you my method of victory. In my breakdown video, I told you guys, in terms of value, the sexy pick is obviously going to be Iglesias by stoppage. The odds, though, mate, like if you take Iglesias by stoppage, it's $1.35. The reason why I don't like that pick is when I look at my bets and who I'm going to bet heavy on, it's tough for me to see a guy who's ranked, top 15 globally as Shishkin, who could easily be could have fought Canelo, if the judges would have looked at the fight a little bit differently against Skull. His only loss is to Skull. I don't think he's ever been dropped. He's never been stopped. So that being said, Iglesias, to think that Shishkin's just going to go in there and get steamrolled, I think it's going to be a lot closer than a lot of people think. So if you're not building a nice little money line lock parlay and you want to get sort of sexy on your method of victory, and I'm doing this, I already told you guys on Monday, I have action on Iglesias by decision. And now those odds have dropped. Iglesias by decision, when I put my bet in 3 days ago, I got it at $6.40. Iglesias by decision now is $5.30. I think in terms of value, obviously, the value is on Iglesias to win by decision. Now, are they letting me have any knockdown prop bets? Right now they are. Total knockdowns. See, not a lot of value there. So the bookmakers are expecting 1+ knockdowns. It's only $1.21 for you to take 2+ knockdowns, meaning it's $1.99 to see 2 knockdowns. There might be value there. Let me sit with that. Let me sleep on that. I don't hate that. I don't hate 2+ knockdowns, meaning if you get 2 knockdowns, you win your bet. That's $1.99. That's much better value than Iglesias on the money line, and that's much better value than Iglesias to win by knockout. I could see 2 knockdowns, but for me right now, my method of victory, like I said, the odds are, in my opinion, a little bit misconstrued. I like Iglesias by decision. I know everybody's taking him to stop Shishkin. In my fight tape, I actually like this one a lot. So I'm gonna say what's up to you boys. PJ says, did you know Silva was going to lose? I didn't get that. Crazy upset. Silva, he's talking about Silva, the Cage Warriors champion from Brazil, Sammy Silva. Wasn't a crazy upset. I just didn't think the 35-year-old from Montreal was going to look that good. So, we're not fortune tellers here. Usyk, what's up? DJ Green, what's up? Big Shadow, what's up? What's crack-a-lackin'? Hand History Vault, good day, Johnny. Good day to you. Adu says, advice for the day, stay away from the horses. Yeah, I told you guys don't bet the rent on that. Guys, when the longer you stay around, if I get insider info, I'm going to share it with you. But I'm not telling you to bet on it. It's kind of like part of my due diligence. It's like as a friend, if I hear something about one of my mates, something about somebody I care about, I'm going to let them know. That's what I'm doing. So I shared in one of my clients owns horse races, and one of my clients owns horses. 2 of those horses are getting ready for the spring carnival in Sydney, in Australia. So the big races, the Melbourne race happens. They call it the race that stops the country. That happens in November, I'm pretty sure. And then up until November, and then moving forward onto the new year, you have all these horse races. So he has 2 horses who are, who have won races. One is called Firm Agreement, and one is called The Horse Yesterday. So whenever he gets insider information from his trainer, he gets video links sent, he sends them to me, and I just relayed the info to you boys in the Discord. I told you guys, I was like, and I'm full transparent. I didn't just give you guys the horse. I gave you guys the link to the trainer. I gave you guys the video to the trainer. So do your own homework. We're all adults. If it was a 7-1, kind of a long shot, sprinkled $25 on it. I think the horse came in 5th. So yeah, I'm not a horse guy anyway. Did you lose on Silva? Yeah, I did lose on Silva. Don't push the horses. Yeah. Keithy to beat Fandora. Johnny round 7 to 12 for stoppages plus 115. Not a bad bet. Not a bad pick. Adu, Joe Stunner's picking a Bateson knockout. I'm not sure I can deal with the pump on that fight. Joe Stunner boxing's tripping. Joe Stunner boxing's tripping if he's picking Bateson to knock out Conlon. You could record this and clip this up and send it to old Joe Stunner. Tell him I like his shirts. Tell him he probably should stop drinking a bit, because I watch him. I subscribe to him. It bothers me when I see older blokes drinking on camera, because alcoholism is awful. And obviously he was probably on something when he saw Bateson gonna knock Conlon out. Now, if he does, this will, clip this up, and I'll eat my words, but I don't see that happen. I think Conlon beating Bateson's a lock. Bateson, out of his 21 wins, he's only beaten 7 people with winning records. Compare that now, Conlon. He's at 33. He seems like he's more 43. If he can't beat Bateson, man, he needs to retire. I'm happy with that pick. Adu, PMSL Rambler, either fighter to be knocked down. I put money on Silva and lost 135, but I hit on the underdog, like you said. Nice. DJ Green, I seen someone else say Bateson was going to knock out Conlon. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're seeing that I'm not seeing. Muscle Brown's happening. I don't know what these people were seeing that I'm not seeing. Bateson, you know, watch him punch, watch him fight. He doesn't even fully extend or sit on his shots. I mean, unless, like I said, Conlon wants to. The rumor on the street is Conlon took this fight because he sees the path to another one of these belts to fight. The winner of this fight, Conlon versus Bateson, gets who's the other UK former champion who got upset against the Mexican a couple, like 5 years ago. The Mexican came in as a huge underdog, 6-1, and he knocked the UK champ out. And then it comes out that the Mexican was on steroids. That guy, I know his name. My mind, you know, I'm not fully woken up yet. But that's the rumor that Conlon's coming back to fight him. So he's a motivated Conlon. Watch his training. He's always going to be in shape. I don't know if it's because Conlon's Irish, and the rivalry should be spoken about when you're talking about Brits who are calling boxing matches and what they feel. You know, if you ever hear them sort of making, I think that's an outrageous claim that Bateson beats Conlon. Maybe it's because Conlon, maybe they're from different parts of the world. I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't use politics when I take my picks. I don't use politics when I predict outcomes ever. Even if I like a fighter, I do film study, trajectory, career, resume, just basically what I see, what I know personally about the sport. I don't think there's a planet that Bateson beats Conlon, let alone knocking him out. So that's what I see. Yeah, I don't know. I'll watch what Joe has to say though. What's up, Christian Morales? I will give you guys a couple fights that I do like that appeared on my radar this morning that I feel are there's some good fights, mate. So obviously Eduardo Nunes, Muscle Brown says, I'm hearing Conlon is talking about retirement. I don't like wager on guys. Really, Muscles? I heard that Conlon was talking about fighting I can't think of his name. Hopefully you guys come big with me. Johnny, I have Conlon by knockouts at plus 500. It's too good to pass up against Bateson. I could see Conlon stopping Bateson 100% before I could see Bateson stopping Conlon. What is the kid's name from the other Irish kid who fought? Not sure how true it is, though. Yeah, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear anything about, well, I never heard Conlon say he was going to retire, but I'm saying if Conlon can't beat Bateson, that's the move. He should retire. What's this dude's name? Trying to, you guys could check this one out because this, yeah. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, Jan. If you guys ever seen Half Baked, when old maid in the office is recreating that scene from Jerry Maguire. Who's coming with me? Thank you, Jan. No, I'm a big lesbian. I'm a big dyke. Okay. But yeah, so that's the sort of reasoning why Conlon, allegedly this version of Conlon, super motivated. His only 3 losses, he gets stopped 3 times. That's a big fight. That's a big money fight, Conlon versus Warrington. Jan, will you be my girlfriend? Yeah. No, I'm a big fat lesbian. I'm a big dyke. There we go. There we go, boys. All right, so we have fights in the 2 cards in the United Kingdom. We have obviously Montreal tomorrow. We have the fight in Ireland. We have the common card is in the UK. We have the card in Mexico, Sinaloa with Nunes. This is the card no one's talking about yet. That Pro Box card, mate. there's some fights on that Pro Box card that, you know, I think I might go heavy on. History says, but Conlon is 110% focused on this fight. He said his training camp is going very well, to the point he's enjoying. He looks like it. You can see, guys, watch. Go to YouTube and type in Mick Conlon Fight Week. They have a little vlog set up. I like what I'm seeing. I talked about it all the time on the channel. You guys know, is one of the things I look for is body language. Conlon doesn't look like a guy who's checked out. Conlon looks like a veteran who wants to make a little second run. And you're telling me that that kid, watching some of the other guys that he came up with a little bit older than him, watching Kakachi have this sort of renaissance late in his career, watching even his boy, Reese, even though Reese lost to Gardner, Reese is getting a big fight, getting an opportunity against Padley. Conlon's a fighter, mate. You know, it wasn't that long ago Ireland was huge on Mick Conlon. You know what I'm saying? Like, ever since the whole Conor McGregor wave in Ireland, that fan base has kind of had their eyes on who's next, whether from the boxing scope or from the MMA scope. And, you know, boxing fans have amnesia. It wasn't that long ago. I think 2021, 2022, when Conlon was undefeated, where people were like, this is the dude, the next dude to carry the torch. That was only a few years ago. Granted, a couple, you know, knockout losses since then. That you'd have to think, especially from a fighter's perspective. I know I got a lot of fighters on the channel, a lot of guys who train, a lot of huge fight fans. That fire just doesn't go away. And sometimes, guys, all you need is that little spark, that little, you know, ember to be lit, maybe a little bit of wind catches fire, just the right sort of environment, the right sort of fight matchups. This is perfect for Conlon. This Bateson fight is perfect. This matchup is perfect for Conlon to psychologically tap back in. I like I said, what the physicality has looked. I like what his training has looked like. I like how he sounded on the mic. And I like this matchup. You know, this matchup does not scare me. If it was Mick Conlon versus Warrington right now, you know, I wouldn't really, or if he was going up against a big puncher, I wouldn't really like it. Or like even like a road warrior. If he was going up against, like if Team Conlon brought in a Mexican with like 40 pro fights, you know, and 10 losses, but like a 60% knockout to win ratio, I'd be a little bit worried. This matchup, Bateson 20-1, what, 6 knockouts maybe? Has never fought. I don't think Bateson has he fought a world champion. Like I said, 7 or 8 of his wins are against winning fighters. This is tailor-made. So if you're hearing any retirement talk, I've said it. I basically said if Conlon can't beat Bateson, he needs to retire. I haven't heard Conlon say anything to that effect. So moving forward, I'm gonna go over my book real quick. We got I talked Duval versus Cortez is a fun fight. There's some good odds there. Frank B says, does Dickinson have what it takes? Yes. Yeah. Look, Williamson is a guy. This is one of those things. I think Williamson at his best. We're talking about Troy, by the way, guys. If we're getting into the bit of the weeds for you non-Brits, non-UK fight fans. The Aussies should know who Williamson is. Even the true blue Americans, because Williamson had that fight with Josh Kelly. Even though Williamson lost that fight, I feel that was him at his best, which sounds kind of crazy. But like everything from the build-up when Troy fought, you know, he's never been stopped. Williams, you know, 20-4, never been stopped. He's 34 now. But when he fought Josh, I think he had just turned 30, right? And that was sort of Troy's big fight opportunity. And he fought well. He fought well against Josh, but he got beat everywhere because he couldn't handle Josh's speed. He lost a really wide decision. Kelly's speed, his reflexes, Kelly was in his head psychologically. Josh just, you know, had such high-level boxing skills. He was able to use Troy Williamson's aggression against him and counter and angles. I actually live streamed that fight. That was before I was covering. That's before I was covering only boxing. That was a fun fight, and so that was 3 years ago, going on 3 years. I feel that was his best performance since that Josh Kelly loss. He's 1-3. He's 34 years old. I have no problem picking. Let me see. I'm just trying to find these the updated odds. What are you guys? What odds are you getting? Dickinson 127. Yeah, I think Troy as a 3-1 dog is good odds. I do. I think I like dude Dickinson on the money line's juicy just to fatten a nice little long parlay. I'm getting Mark Dickinson at $1.27. Let's play a little bit of math real quick. I like Avery. So this we're getting into the bit of the weeds, but there's a good fight. Avery Duval. I brought him up already against Luis Cortez. I'm high on from what I've seen with Duval. I like what I've seen with Duval. You could watch a little bit of his tape. You know, he's an up and comer. On my book, I'm probably going to put this on a parlay. This is me kind of building my long parlay real quick with you boys. So let's clear it out. I'm obviously going to be using Bet365. So these odds are these odds are sports bets. So the odds on Bet365 are going to be a bit different. It's just the sports bets navigating system for me using my PC are a little bit more user friendly. So, but when I print out my long parlay to give the YouTube fans and give my Discord VIPs, I'm going to have this. I'm going to have Duval on the money line. These are just money line picks. Man, I wish John Arobio was a little bit higher. I love Arobio in this fight, but I mean, who doesn't? There's another one, Gaumont versus Sofian Kadi. People are sleeping on Alexander Gaumont. I like Gaumont at $1.20. This is, you throw Iglesias on the money. This is just my money line parlay. Marksby versus Kelly. Charlie Edwards should handle Juarez. You know, it does give me a little bit of hesitation in terms of how I don't really rate Charlie world class. Now, guys, this is my long parlay. This is nothing to go heavy on. I'm just, you know, waking up this morning in Australia with more fights, and I'm kind of brainstorming with you guys in real time. So it's not like I've thought too much out about this. I'm doing my dry run with you, building my long parlay. I'll have a sit down by myself. I'll do some sort of deductive reasoning, watch a little bit more film study, and then I'll give you guys that long parlay. It's coming out in a few hours because we got fights in the next 24 hours. Segua versus Acosta. That's a fun fight. That's that Pro Box card I was talking about. And I think that's a 50-50 fight. And this is going to come down to when you watch your film study, Segua ranked 27 in the world, Acosta ranked 34. Segua has 5 losses. Acosta only has 1 loss. This is a real fun fight. So I'm not going to throw this on the parlay. I'm actually leaning a little bit towards Acosta at plus money. You give me Brian Acosta at plus 250. I might save that for my upset of the week, so I'm not going to put this on the parlay. Jordan White versus Renee Tejas-Giron. This is an interesting fight. We've covered Renee before on the channel. Off jump, I like Jordan White to be too much in this fight. So that's 6 on my long parlay. Mark Dickinson, like I said. Troy Williamson, he's always when he fights domestically, people are always going to look at Troy Williamson, and this is no shade on him, on what he was when he was at his best regarding potential. I don't think he's one of those guys. Good pro, but people at one time were talking about Troy Williamson being on the world level. And when he had his opportunity, like I talked about against Josh, things didn't go his way, and you got to see that separation. Because I favor Josh Kelly. I've always favored him coming out of the amateurs. Even that draw against Ray Robinson, if you haven't watched that fight, the boxing media is insane to me to just talk about Ray Robinson like he wasn't good. Ray Robinson was a dog, dude. Go watch his career. Philly fighter, really slick, really fast, great pro. I think Josh fought Ray when Josh had maybe 10 fights, 11 fights, and it was his first time and only time coming to America. And I think that fight was at the Garden, maybe, and they fought to a draw. That's not a bad, like, to fight Ray Robinson to a draw. I think in your first 10 pro fights, that's not a shade. It's just that people had so much and still do aspirations for Kelly as a pro. And then the fight where I kind of understand is when he fought Avanesyan. He's another guy. Boxing, it's frustrating when you look at the boxing mainstream media. They're casuals. The men who are responsible with writing articles and controlling the narrative on a mainstream level act like David Avanesyan's a scrub. Dude, David Avanesyan is a tough freaking out. When he was at his best, dude, he's like 35, 36 now. If you guys are just going to judge Avanesyan for, you know, his losses to Bud and his losses to Boots, you guys need to do more research. David Avanesyan was a real problem. And, you know, he could crack, his speed, his feints, what he was able to do with angles. And Kelly looked good early, but Kelly learned a lot in that loss. He got stopped in the mid rounds. This is when Josh used to fight with a lot of wasted energy. He used to do a lot of feints and a lot. He was more worried about looking pretty, living up to that nickname. And Avanesian taught him a lesson. Kelly learned a lot and tightened his defense up from that fight. And he's been perfect since. Hasn't really fought the highest of competition. Hopefully, I want to see him fight for a world title at 54. Like I said, if he got paired up against Murtazaev, I would take. This is crazy. I think his speed would be too much for Murtazaev. He's bigger than people think. My point is, Williamson, you got to see the difference in class when Williamson fought Josh. And sometimes, you get one chance to kind of prove your mettle. And I think, Troy fell short. Dickinson, to get to my point, I favor Dickinson in this fight. I'm throwing him on my parlay. That's 7. And then you sprinkle, look at Mancia. Look at these fights. I might do a 2-leg. I'm going to do a 2-leg underdog parlay, 2-leg upset. I'm taking Adrian Curiel to beat Guevara, but this isn't on that parlay. I'm just talking out loud. We'll get to that in a second. I love Curiel versus Guevara as a fight. Oscar Valdez $1.07, Eduardo Nunes $1.04, Tom Wayland $1.08. Not enough juice. So right now, my long parlay, we got 7 legs. Let's see what that looks like. At 364, let's go. I like it. So if on those 7 legs I just gave you, I'm not making it official yet, but I'm real close to making it official. I just got to do a little bit more homework on the the Duval fight. But my hesitation with Avery Duval versus Campos Cortez is it's another one of those fights with one guy with a nice shiny record, kind of testing his, leveling up to see how he looks against, a step up in competition, step up fight. But if you take Duval, Gaumont, Iglesias, Marksby, Edwards, White, Dickinson on the money line, that's 364. 100 gets you your money back plus 264. 1,000 gets you your money back plus 2,064. If I make that official, I'll let you boys know. That's a 7-leg. I'm going to put that up in the Discord. Let's talk about some upsets real quick, and then I'll get to some of your questions. Guys, if you haven't joined the Discord, click the link. It's pinned in the comment section below. If you hit yesterday, let me know. And if you see, I'm going to give you my two upsets real quick. Nothing's official yet, boys. Nothing's official. I'm going to make it official when I post. Whenever you see the posts on YouTube or in the Discord, then it's official. So 2 upsets I'm looking at. I saw this yesterday. This might sound crazy, but Sophia, even though I put Gaumont at $1.20 on my moneyline parlay, I need to watch more of Sophia and Cotty. At one time, people were really high on Cotty. Those odds at 425, they might be juicy enough to sprinkle something on the dog, but like I said, I'll get back to you. I don't think Marksby's going to struggle with Sen and Kelly. I don't think Conlan's going to struggle with Bateson. Okay, Segura versus Acosta. This is a fight. This is the one. Right now, you give me Acosta at 250. I'm just going to, play some trial and error real quick. Okay, we've seen Segawa before. We've seen him on the channel. He's still ranked in the top 30. 17-5. He's been stopped once. We last saw him fight Shushu. He lost majority decision in a close fight, dude. We covered that fight. Shushu could have lost that fight. You know what I'm saying? Shushu could have. Some people say he did lose that fight. Segawa's energy, I think, impressed a lot of people. That's what you get with a lot of these veterans, a lot of these guys with, trying to prove something. He's 34 now, 5'8" southpaw. Good size, decent crack, not a lot of knockout power, but he has enough power to get people's respect. He has enough power, I guess, to change somebody's game plan from plan A to plan B. If they're getting tapped a little bit on the outside with countering, he has enough power to get that sort of you better make some adjustments respect. So Brian Acosta 20-1, 8 knockouts, Mexican fighter, 5'7", decent size. I think this fight's going down at 26, 27 years old. He's lost one time. He's coming off a loss against Ramon Cardenas. You know what? A wide decision loss. Actually, I have to rewatch that fight. Did you guys watch this fight? How did you score Ramon Cardenas versus... I didn't see this fight. Versus Acosta. Because the scorecards are kind of all over the place. One of the judges had a 92-97 Cardenas, and then the other two 95-94 Cardenas. So unanimous decision. Nobody got dropped. And then we know Cardenas got propelled into the Inoue fight. Cardenas is a nice little pro. What are those odds again? All right, I like Sagawa in that. I thought, you know what? I was thinking of somebody else. It's not a lock, but unless he wakes up and we see a slower. I like Sagawa's work rate. I like his experience. I don't like how Acosta's coming off that loss. Let's keep looking for one more upset, then I'll turn the page. Ricardo Emmanuel Gonzalez, that's a C-level fight. I'm going to stay away from that. Guevara versus Curiel. That's an interesting fight. I brought that up earlier. All right, that's on the Sugar Nunez card, guys, in Sinaloa, Mexico. So Pedro Guevara versus Curiel. Right now the odds have Pedro at $1.64, Curiel at $2.40. Let's play a game. What have you done for me lately? You know, both guys have, nice little pro career. Guevara's 43-5. He's been stopped once. I can't believe he's 36 years old already. They need to update his BoxRec pick. 5'4". Coming off a decision win over Bernal, and then he got stopped against Bam in the third. He won a close split against Maloney. He's fought some really good guys. Lost that close split against Quadras. That resume is nice. It just, with that style, at 36 years old, what version are we going to get? Curiel 26. See, this is the thing. He's smaller, though. The 10-year age difference, a little bit smaller. He's been stopped once, 6 losses. He's won his last 2. The Sonny Edwards technical decision, and then he got stopped against Nanshinga in the 10th. Nanshinga deducted 1 point for a headbutt. Curiel rolled down on the ropes in round 10. Got stopped in the 10th. He knocked Nanshinga out in the second in the first fight. He wants to get that back. He only has 5 knockouts. Not a huge not a huge puncher, but I'll let you guys know. It might be worth a sprinkle to take the young buck. A 10-year age gap. I know it doesn't always go our way. You just bring up the Nonito Donaire fight in his last fight against Campos in Argentina. I didn't see that coming. I want to see Donaire's, this is going to be controversial, I want to see Donaire's urine test. 42 years old, looking like that, fought really well. I'm just kidding. I'm not taking anything away from the legend. Nonito Donaire's one of my favorite, 10 years ago, he was one of my favorite fighters. His hooks, what a stud. I was just making a joke. But usually, especially in the lighter divisions, when there's that 10-year age difference, it's always tough for me to bet on the vet, just based off of principle. So that's kind of right now my logical reasoning with taking Curiel at plus money. But I'll let you guys know. How do you guys feel about that? Johnny Cardenas got dropped. It was a very close fight. Sula has very underrated power. DJ felt it. The boys are tapping in. Upset incoming. Kyle Hayden. Cardenas got dropped. It was a very close fight. Raya de los Santos, history vault. Blue collar Acosta was losing every round until Cardenas got dropped. Then Acosta made it competitive for the last 2. Okay. I had Ramon barely winning. Okay. See, learning. I just don't see Curiel winning, but Gurr's old and worn. I guess it's plausible. Okay. Vic, yeah, he's going to do that on him. John Pablo, you better watch those cartel fights. Yeah. Sinaloa, boys, they don't know about that. Dude, you gotta mention that, mate. Some good parlays here. I don't know much about boxing, but I'm here to support the boys. We support Frankie B over 8.5 over the Juice of Parlay. DJ Green, Donaire was on that old man strength. Yeah, he was. Nonito, mate. That was. every time we think we know a little bit about the sport, we get proven wrong. something like Nonito Donaire versus Andres Campos happens. Johnny, what round do you think Iglesias would get a knockout or a stoppage? If he would, I see it happening early. You know what? I talked about this. If he would, I think it would be 1 through 6. Am I betting that? I don't know. Maybe you guys are talking me into it. Maybe I'm getting sort of like fooled or charmed by that decision. Maybe I'm getting fooled and charmed because of what, some of the fighters have looked like recently. And I'm not comparing Iglesias to Tellez. I'm not comparing him to anybody other than himself. But, he comes out fast and he comes out brawling. And people were like, yeah, but he's gonna wear Shishkin down and Shishkin's style. See, because of Shishkin's style, because he's on his front foot, because Shishkin wants to play the bully as well, I think in a matchup like that, neither guy, I don't think either guy has like super one punch knockout power. But I think Iglesias' power against a guy like Shishkin, I rate Shishkin on the world level. I do. I think his power is more dangerous early. I think after the 6th round, you settle into a fight, and a little bit of that power, the sort of power that Iglesias relies on, fades a bit, dampers a bit. The volume's going to damper a bit. It's interesting. So, like right now, I like Iglesias by decision. But if I were to take the stoppage, I would take Iglesias 1 through 6, which sounds insane. But you just heard my reasoning. It's basically on the premise of how I see the fight playing out. Hayden says, do you think Shishkin's inactivity will be his downfall? Shishkin's inactivity, didn't he just fight Skull in January or in March? I thought he fought Skull in March and Skull fought Canelo in May. Am I wrong on that? Let me check. He fought Skull. Oh, yeah, way off. He fought Skull in October of 2024. Way off. Why did I think that was before? So, yeah, a year out of the ring. You never know. At 34 years old, I don't, these guys aren't too open. We know boxers and combat sports athletes aren't too open with their injury history. Maybe he was recovering from something. Hasn't fought in about a year. If anything, at 34, it could suit him, though. It doesn't necessarily, that sort of inactivity doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. I mean, the same could be said with Iglesias. Iglesias was a guy who went from fighting 4 times in 2024 to where we haven't seen him since November. So Iglesias is going on a year as well. September, October, November. So they both had similar layoffs. And when here's the thing about Iglesias, though. How many total rounds has he fought in his career? He's fought 43 total rounds, which is insane. He's only fought 43 total rounds. Shishkin has triple the experience with a nice knockout to win ratio. Guys, Shishkin's a beast, man. I don't know who, like, there was a time where nobody, like, he could easily be undefeated. Rewatch the Williams Skull. He could easily be undefeated. And Shishkin's a guy that not many people want to fight him at 68. The Uzcategui fight. I know it was 3 years ago now. Jose Uzcategui. The Igbeko fight. Won a decision. Yeah, don't sleep on Shishkin, mate. His style. Have you watched your film on him? He's good. 73-inch reach. I don't think he's going to cower away from Iglesias' power. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Iglesias' opponents. We see over time they kind of duck and they kind of cower away. And when you get hit, this is why having sort of a presence, or not all guys could get hit and still use their feet. You know what I mean? A lot of guys, will get hit and get stunned and they get stationary. And the first thing your coach will teach you is to lateral movement. When you don't like where you are in a fight, you have a couple decisions to make. Circle left, circle right, clinch, force a disengagement, or try to exit back and stick your jab, your lead hand out. Iglesias has fought a lot of guys who when they get touched, they get frozen, the deer in headlights, and they're just standing in front of them and they're not punching. And I talked about this yesterday on my live stream, is that I haven't seen Shishkin react that way yet. I haven't, like, Shishkin is going to punch with him. We're going to see. We're definitely going to see. What is Iglesias' best win in your opinion? Ivanov? I don't know, man. I don't know. I like man, I don't know, man. This is not a plus 700 fight. I think these odds are insane. This is not a this is not a plus 700 fight. It was almost a year. Yeah. I caught up. Julius Conlon got destroyed by Jordan Gill. Conlon is washed. Yeah, that Jordan Gill performance is tough to get off of. If you take anything into consideration about emotions, when you talk about, if you use the Buster Douglas performance against Mike, we know about the emotions he fought with in a good way. Research Jordan Gill's story. Same sort of, that was his Buster Douglas moment. He's, fought very emotional and used his emotions in his favor. I don't think Conlon was expecting it. Conlon definitely underestimated him. And if you know anything about Jordan Gill, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, check out his story. Good story. Beautiful moment in boxing. I watched that fight. It was amazing. And the emotions that he shared afterwards, everybody had given up on him. He was going through like a lot of fractured relationships, his own personal demons, and he gets a killer like Mick Conlon, and he just had the performance of his lifetime. So I think that was more of a moment, a really, really, great moment for Jordan, rather than a sort of kind of example. I mean, we've seen Conlon get stopped, 3 losses, 3 stoppages. True. I see where you're coming from. What's your opinion on Pat McCormick versus Parra? I think there's value on McCormick by decision. Blue collar, I love McCormick in this fight. The odds are nice as well. I have him on the money line, and decision seems like the right value for sure. Zach Gilmore, salute, Johnny. I love catching these lives. Appreciate you, Zach. Appreciate the support. Guys, join the Discord. You see all the boys with the blue stars? They're in the Discord. They get to share their bets, parlays. They get to pick each other's brains. It's a 24/7 growing group. I love that group. Best decision I ever made. Shout out to Boxing Fan if he's in this live stream. He's the one who pushed me to start that group. Pedro, they were trying to petition that he won against Skull. Bro, I mean, did you watch Shishkin, I thought there's definitely an argument. I don't like taking victories out of fighters' hands. So I'm not one of these commentators, you guys know that, to sit back after a fight and say that it was a robbery, or it's not my job to say somebody should have won the fight when they didn't win the fight. But afterwards, I could break down the next fight and tell you what I thought. It could have definitely gone Shishkin's way. Shishkin could easily be undefeated. In the mind of odds makers, in the mind of the boxing fandom, in the mind of the boys who don't watch fights, who just bet on the fights, I guarantee this. If Shishkin's record said 17-0, if Shishkin's record said 17-0 with 10 knockouts and a 63% career knockout to win ratio instead of 16-1, I bet you the odds wouldn't be so far. That's all I'm saying. You got to take that in consideration. Think about that. If that decision goes his way, now granted, in between this, you would have had a Shishkin versus Canelo fight, which is would have been a lot more entertaining. I I don't know, like maybe one day YouTube will have sort of a tool for this, but there's a live stream that I did before Skull fought Canelo. There's a live stream on my channel that I did, and I said that I would rather see Shishkin versus Canelo. I said that and I wish there was a tool that I could type in on my channel certain keywords, and then I would get videos that I said Shishkin, Skull, etc. And then I would be able to show you the evidence. I'd show you the receipts without having to sit through hours and hours of what video it was. But, dude, Shishkin versus Canelo is way more entertaining, way more competitive than what we saw with Skull. And how much do you want to make of, depending on your boxing politics, depending on your conspiracy theory hat, how much you want to take of that Canelo or Skull Shishkin decision went into the fact that they knew that winner was going to face Canelo, because we already knew that the money with Canelo and Bud was for undisputed. And we know that the IBF had taken the belt from Canelo. So if Canelo doesn't fight the winner of Skull and Shishkin, when Canelo fights Bud, that 168 undisputed title isn't able to be marketed. You know what I'm saying? And so when you take that, it's not as, it's all about marketing. It's not as, doesn't have as much shine. But now Canelo has all the belts at 68. Bud, who was the first man ever to become undisputed in 2 divisions, you know, at 40 and 47. And then we saw Usyk do it and Inoue since then. Bud now has the opportunity to be the first male fighter ever to be undisputed in 3 divisions. So that adds a little bit more gloss and shine on the marketing as well. My whole point is Canelo doesn't fight Skull if Canelo fights whoever has that IBF strap at the time. You're telling me the team Canelo didn't know? Or, hey, mate, who would you rather fight? Skull or Shishkin? Knowing that the next fight's Bud? 100% everyone's going to say Skull, just based off of their styles. Just based off of their styles. Julius, they said Gill couldn't punch, but still brutalized Conlon. Bateson's punch on Gill level at least. Yeah. Yeah, that's a narrative that, Julius, you've been watching Joe Stunner, ain't you? DJ, history vote. Yeah, I would say Shishkin's definitely more experienced too. Triple G versus Maravilla. I'm here for it. I want to see. Yeah, I'm here for that. I would have liked to see. I'm here for it, Ricardo. I'll give you some love on that one. Julius says, my biggest concern for Iglesias is his inside game. Most Cubans struggle and close. Yeah, Julius, we spoke about this. I think there's truth to that. I think that all you have to do is, you know, just look at the style of the Cuban game, but more importantly, the style of the amateur game. And then you tie that into the prestige that comes from being an Olympian from a lot of these countries. It's not like that in America, but it's like that in Cuba. It's like that in Russia. It's like that in these European countries. You become a gold medal Olympian in any sport in a lot of these other countries, you never have to work again. And that's just a fact. It's not like that in America. And because of that, you become a gold medal Olympic boxer from Cuba, dude. Like, you need to win rounds. You need to win points. Fighting on the inside is on, you better be on your grown man. You know what I'm saying? Fighting on the inside, in my opinion, is a lost art. It's a lost skill. Being able to catch and shoot from the inside, same thing. And don't mean to change the topic, but this is what impressed me the most about Lamont Roach versus Tank, is that going into that fight, I knew Lamont Roach was skilled and it was going to be competitive. I just didn't think that he was going to be able to catch and shoot Tank in the pocket. Also, I didn't expect Tank to struggle so much with Roach's countering in the pocket. And, you know, what we were watching was like, you know, to your point, it's kind of a lost art. It is. Because if you come from an amateur style to where you don't have to do that, why take the risk and why train it? Why drill it if you never had to? If something's always working, it's always going to work until it doesn't work. Ask our boy Tellez about that. DJ Green, man said you farted. What? That's weird. Heaven sent. You guys saw Thurman fall. My answer about Mungia positive testing came out. I guess I was too early for it. A lesson in patience. I shared it on our Instagram, Heaven sent, and in the Discord. I'm reading the Book of Five Rings tomorrow. Nice. It's a great book. You're gonna love it. Let me know how you take that book. It's one of my favorites. I talked about it all the time. The IBF was trying to block the Canelo Crawford fight. I'm convinced. Thurman versus Errol Spence. Guys, Errol's training, man. Go to his Instagram today on EJ's Instagram, and he's been sprinkling evidence of him training for the last few months. He hasn't shown us hitting anything. He hasn't shown us sparring, but he's shown us with his shirt off. Errol looks like he's in shape, mate. Yeah, hit the like button, boys. 14 likes, super depressing. Super sad. You guys making me cry out here. Boxing fan, history. I think people are ignoring the promoter versus promoter. I do think Salida Promotions is feeding Shishkin to Iglesias. Shishkin is older and Iglesias has a better future. He has more hype and push. These are facts. But you're telling me a kid from Russia is coming to Montreal to not upset the cards? You tell me Shishkin's coming in to roll over? With guys, these guys are fighting for a lot more than the IBO belt. The winner of Shishkin versus Iglesias, they're setting themselves up for sort of generational money. You're telling me Shishkin, a dude at 34 who's fought his whole career to get here, isn't going to he doesn't care what the promoters are saying. He can punch too, man. Shishkin is maybe it's the contrarian in me, but the more people are writing Shishkin off, the more I'm tempted to take the dog here, even though this is how I roll. This is how this is how my nature is as a human. I don't like bullies, and I'm the type of guy, if I see people picking on people or ganging up on them, I'm going to defend the dude getting ganged up on. So I got to check myself when it comes to betting. But the more I'm hearing people just writing Shishkin off, maybe not understanding how good of a fighter this guy is and where he's come from, the more I'm thinking I might sprinkle. Nobody was talking about Barral last week. Nobody was mentioning the German coming in to beat Tellez. That's all I'm going to say. Berlanga versus Big Polish Babyface. Haven't said El Diablo fight's good. And the inside-outside against Karen. See, when I hear El Diablo, this is how old I am, Heaven sent. I think of Angel Man Freddy. So I read El Diablo. It's interesting seeing nicknames being regurgitated. It's even when Guerrero would call himself the Ghost, I'm like, Kelly Pavlik's the Ghost, mate. Berlanga versus Sriracha, Mungia versus Macumbi. Vanessa, big love to you, Vanessa. John Pablo. Tank was pre-retired in that fight. Tank's been pre-retired since, maybe the Garcia fight. Remember Big Polish Babyface versus Areola? Yeah. People were high on him for a little bit, too. You're talking about, big old Babyface. Yeah. He recently retired, I'm pretty sure. Chris Areola was a fun, huge Mexican heavyweight. We were talking about that Chris Areola versus Andy Ruiz fight a couple days ago on the live stream, me and Chilltown Boxing. Chris Areola, mate, he was a big Mexican heavyweight. Free memberships, 50 likes. I don't know, mate, boxing fan. We can't force feed people anymore. We want people to, guys, do you know how to hit the thumbs up? Errol fighting in December next year. If 3 months ago, I was saying that I don't see Errol Spence Jr. fighting again, but watching his behavior on Instagram and watching Errol Spence posting motivational quotes and watching Errol Spence posting still shots of him with a shirt off, I'm like, dude, this dude sounds to me like a guy who wants to get his get back. Now, who's that get back going to be against? Rumor is he's fighting at 154. Hasn't fought in 2 years. What's a good fight for Errol to fight at 54? You got to take a rebound fight. You know what I mean? You got to put Errol in there with who would you put Errol in there at 154 against? Let's see. Middleweight, 154. It's an interesting question. Yeah, I don't want to see Errol versus Boots. I don't want to see Errol versus Charlo. What's up, Fat Scroat? Shishkin wins. All right, see, Fat Scroat in the house. Haven't seen you in a while. I think there's money on Shishkin, mate. People are sleeping on him. Canelo would have stopped Shishkin for that style. Yeah, yeah. I don't argue on that. But I think it would have been. Do you agree, Keys? It would have been more entertaining than Skull. Ricardo, I know Errol wants to fight Fundora, but Fundora would smoke him. Yeah, I don't want to see him fight Seb yet either. I don't want to see him fight Seb. Pedro says he thought Barral had a shot. All right, I didn't hear it. I didn't hear you say that, Pedro. DJ Green, I bet on Barral last time. Depressing from Tejas. DJ, you bet on Barral to beat Tejas. Adam Kalnacki, yeah, I couldn't remember his name. I don't even want to see Spence versus Thurman. It looks like Keith is fighting Seb though, right? Okay, now we're talking. I think we could see Spence versus Danny Garcia too, because they both think about that. Danny said, especially Garcia's last performance was hard to watch. He was hard to watch, but he said he's not retired, and both guys have big follow. The crazy thing, Ricardo Velez, the crazy thing is Errol and Danny would sell out a football stadium. Errol, whoever he fights, will still sell out Texas Stadium. And you know I'm watching. I like that fight. I think for both guys, let's go. Give EJ and Garcia one more bag. Give them a payday. And the crazy thing is, whoever wins, they're going to get another payday. You got to love boxing. I'm being a bit facetious with that comment, but no, you do have to love boxing. And we're hopeless romantics, guys. We say it for what you will. True boxing fans, it's the drama, it's the storyline, it's the history, it's the potential, it's the possibility of an upset, it's the possibility of a comeback story. We're romantics. It's like reading like our favorite poet talk about, the rain and the clouds and the idea that maybe the clouds will break and you'll see sun. It's the same sort of thing. It's that part of our brain, that part of our mental, emotional ecosystem, which why we love boxing and why Errol versus Danny Garcia does not sound bad. I have no idea who he fights. No rebounds at 54. Errol wants no tune-up fights. Spence versus Pacquiao. I actually don't like it. I don't like that fight. Spence versus Joey Spence. Mate, I think the Danny Garcia shout is a good shout. Ricardo usually comes in here. Ricardo Velez usually comes in here talking about, did you hear Miguel Cotto's coming back? Did you hear Carlos Monzon might fight again? That's a joke. But I think EJ versus Danny Garcia too has some logic to it. Knowing PBC, they may get Spence up for Pac-Man. Yeah, for sure. I never want to see Skull fight again. That's a bit harsh. I would watch Skull fight again. Pac-Man at 47. Billy Lester, FX coaching. Good fight. I'm not 100% sold on Lester. I'm not. I like Christian Mabili in that fight. Johnny, what's that behind you, this stuff, dude? What's that behind? You brought that up yesterday on my live stream, Vic. Yeah, Jab put in the Discord. DJ, you're always dropping dimes, though, mate. You're like Allen Iverson. Now, actually, Allen Iverson was shooting too much. Who's a nice little assist guy obscure assist guy that most people would forget. Street like Rafer Alston, like Skip to Malou. Well, I remember when Skip made it to the league. This is going back to the 90s. If you guys remember and One Mixtape, and One Mixtape was, a cultural sensation. You guys know what I'm talking about. You mix like the N1 mixtape with the East Bay magazine. You guys don't. You mix the East Bay magazine with the Source mixtape, dude. The hip hop. But anyway, so in my head, the assists, the dimes, DJs dropping in the Discord, picking Baral over Tellez. My mind for some reason goes to like the Source Awards. The Source. That's when I first heard of a band called Crucial Conflict. The Source used to do like a mixtape, a CD, I think maybe once or twice a year. And Crucial Conflict, the first time it was the silver version with Smoking on Hay. But at the same time, you had East Bay Magazine. So if you wanted to get like the newest shoes, the newest J's, the newest, whatever shoes, the trainers, we'd get our football cleats, we'd get our baseball bats, we'd get our East Bay Magazine. And then you mix that with the N1 mixtape, and I'll come full circle. N1 was just a bunch of street ball basketball players, creating viral moments before the internet, right? But sprinkled into the N1 guys were actually some league level players. One of them was a guy named Rafer Alston, and his nickname was Skip to My Lou. And his ball handles, like unfortunately, I think he got to the league a little bit too late. But he spent his like early to mid 20 years playing street. But I think Skip ended up getting. I think he played for the Rockets in the league. But man, some of his dimes, some of his dishes, some of his finks, he was one of my favorite point guards. Heaven sent. You guys heard the news of Adrian Broner fighting on Misfits. Heaven sent. Adrian just posted on his Instagram today in the sweatsuit. Adrian Broner's training again. Adrian Broner might be the oldest 34-year-old in the streets. Adrian Broner, it seems Broner might be 70, but he's only really like 34. Adrian Broner and Mick Conlon might be the oldest 33, 34-year-olds out. Julius, Adrian Broner versus Regis. No, I heard Broner versus Salt Poppy. That's the fight. Broner was giving love to Salt Poppy after Salt Poppy got starched against Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's punching like this. And Salt Poppy's like this. And that was some whore. Anyway, I'll turn the page. If you was Cotto, you would want that 20. Yes, but if I was Cotto's loved ones, John Pablo, if I was Cotto's wife, if I was Cotto's son, I wouldn't want him to get hit in the head again. I wouldn't, no. You could sign autographs, you could do presentations, you could do seminars, you could do entrepreneurial decisions, you could do partnerships. Just don't get hit in the head anymore, mate. That's why. That's where I'm coming from. Heaven sent. Adrian Broner is fighting a tough fighter at Misfits who got popped and is so Broner's actually fighting. They announced the fight? DJ Green. I remember Skip to My Lou. He was tough. Yeah, only the OGs will know about Skip. Dicho gonna stop Franklin. Good fight, Julius. Dicho, good fight. Is that this week? I thought Dicho versus Franklin was next week. Yeah, that's next week, right? Adrian Broner versus Spence. Broner versus Chino too. I think Mick is jacked. Yeah. Dude, Mick looks big. Rambler. I think people are sleeping on Mick. You are correct. Vanessa in the house. Vanessa and Vic, the double team combo. Ball handles. Yeah, I'm not going to abide. PJ, your generation is out of control using the word pause. PJ Puppet Show, I'm going to teach you a lesson. I'm going to educate you real quick, mate. So PJ, and I know a lot of you young bucks, and no shade to the younger generation. My grandma, before she passed away, rest in peace, Grandma Jenny. She was 92. But she once told me, she said, Johnny, never lose connection with the younger people's lingo. She was like, if you want to stay young, always stay up to date with, the younger generations, what they're saying, the trends. The minute you disconnect yourself, you start getting old mentally. But my pushback is on PJ Puppet Show's comment and ball handles pause. So the idea that you young generation have taken the word pause as sort of a segue to insinuate, we used to say no homo, but to just say that and to kind of, what it does is it captures the narrative and it captures the conversation and it hijacks it to kind of like insinuate your sort of psychology on thinking that everything is homoerotic. When you're on your grown man shit like I am, I don't got time to say pause. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to be directive with how you speak. If you think something is homoerotic or if you think something is out of context, just say that. But the idea that you're going to say pause, it's a bit childish for me, baby. You got to step your game up. Jermaine Franklin, right? Broner does look like he's 55. Salt Poppy pissed me off. Salt Poppy, y'all cats are wild. Julius, Darren Till murder rock. Darren Till, man. You know Darren Till speaks Portuguese. One of my favorite facts. People forget, man, before Darren Till got touched up in the UK, before Darren Till got murked against a 155er in Jorge Masvidal, people were really high on Darren Till in the UFC. This was a real big guy for the division. He took fights at 85. He was a big boy at 170, long striker. It was well documented. He had to flee where he was raised to move to Brazil because of gangs. He trained and lived in Brazil. He speaks Portuguese and super marketable. It's just that, for whatever reason or not, maybe his preparation, his conditioning was always a question. His grappling was always a question. His willingness to kind of work on his weaknesses was always in question. But the one thing he always had was his striking, was his hands. And I think that sort of crossover, not to boxing, but to like influencer sort of stuff, Misfits suits him perfectly. And Rockhold, never the same guy. Talk about a guy who just fell off a cliff. So, at one time he was invincible. He was the guy who beat Weidman. He was the guy who beat Bisping, and then he was supposed, defending his belt. I was at this fight when Bisping took in LA. I flew from Sydney, and he took the fight on Bisping took the fight on I think 2 weeks notice, and then he knocked Rockhold out. And ever since then, Rockhold was never able to get it back. Riz and brain rot. I don't know what that means. Did the Darren Till guy knock out that other guy, Rock? Yeah, Darren Till knocked out Luke. Mick Conlon, corner better have PJ. You know you're my boy. I'm staying hip. But the whole saying pause, it's weird, man. Because it's like when your mind's not everything's gay, dude. Not everything. You guys are, the idea that you wrap everything around he had good ball handles. Pause. No, I ain't playing that game. Imagine a young person writing a whole paragraph full of, I know. It's just a very sort of childish way to speak as well. Imagine a book like that. Write it, brother, write it. Darren destroyed him. Everyone says, nah, not everyone. DJ, not everyone. I'm into poetry and romance. I'm into my grown man. I write books. I have a publisher. I ain't into pause. What are you talking about, DJ? It's a mindset, DJ. It's not staying hip. It's a mindset. Trust me. Johnny, if you lose all your bets, you go and look for the lost Dutchman's gold mine in the Superstition Mountains. Rambler? Rambler? I respect you, Rambler. Even with your, at sometimes, out of context takes. But I'm glad you're here. Boxing fan, even OGs make mistakes. Kiza, Till would knock out Jake Paul's head. Yes, I think so. Heaven sent. You've traveled or attended lots of fights in the past. Are there any fights you're planning to attend? Yeah, so right now, Heaven sent, good question. It's when I get out, living in Sydney to LA is a 15-hour straight flight. I usually travel to America twice a year. And then if there's fights, I'm going to go to those fights. When there's fights in Sydney, which there are a lot of fights, I go to all the fights in Sydney. I mean, I wish I was not going to be able to make it to, obviously, Bud versus Canelo. But I'm going to be in America twice. So I might be in America next month. I might go to America next month. I'll let you guys know. When we get another video of the Quad Squad. EV 44 ounce. Went from David tapping in 70 minutes into the live. Guys, we're over an hour here. It's 7:40 a.m. I have a 10K, so I'm running a 10K here in about an hour and a half. So I'm gonna cut this short. I need to upload my Sugar Nunez breakdown. I'm gonna take a couple more questions. David says, "Are you picking Lubin to beat Virgil?" I'm excited about that fight, David. I'm not saying any definites yet. I do like that fight. Patty Donovan 1 through 6. I don't hate that, Julius. All right, guys. Let's like this video. Join the Discord. I got to run. I'm going live again, so I got a 9, 10:30. I'm going to be live in a couple more hours. We're going to talk about all the upcoming fights. I'm going to upload my Sugar Nunez. I think there's a great bet Sugar Nunez over 5.5. I put that bet in on Monday. Sugar over 5.5. I got it at, I think plus, it might have been plus 190, but now I heard the books changed it to plus over 6.5 rounds. So I have to revisit that. I'll go to the Discord. I'll give you guys my long parlay. We got American football. We got boxing. We got MMA. I appreciate the support. I'll chat with you guys.